Imagine absolute blackness. The air is thick, heavy with damp earth and pine. You try to move. Your arms and legs are pinned. A scream dies in your throat as dust fills your mouth. You're in a box, a coffin. You claw at the lid, splinters tearing your fingers. Above, muffled sounds, shovels scraping, dirt thudding. They're burying you, alive. This isn't just a nightmare. In the 19th century, it was a real haunting fear, taphophobia, the terror of being buried alive. The line between life and death was blurry. A deep coma or illness could be mistaken for death. Families, desperate and grieving, might bury a loved one who wasn't truly gone. The fear was everywhere, in funeral whispers, at sickbeds, in every cough or fever. People took extreme measures to avoid this fate, desperate for certainty in their final rest. It wasn't just about dying, it was about the horror of waking up, trapped, suffocating, utterly alone. This was the ultimate survival nightmare, a terror that shaped lives and deaths, and it drove a century of panic, invention, and desperate hope.
In the 19th century, medicine was primitive. Doctors had few tools, no ECGs, no reliable stethoscopes. To check for life, they'd hold a mirror to the mouth or a feather to the nostrils, hoping for the faintest sign. Catalepsy could leave a person rigid, breath shallow, pulse nearly undetectable, yet fully aware inside. Hypothermia could slow the body so much, even a living person seemed dead. Fainting spells or deep comas were easily misread. In cold rooms with weak pulses, mistakes happened. A doctor's judgment was all that stood between life and burial. The line between death and deep unconsciousness was razor-thin. Without modern tests, families and doctors lived in constant uncertainty. This medical fog fueled the terror of premature burial. The fear wasn't fantasy, it was a logical response to a terrifying reality. In that world, death was never certain until it was too late.
Epidemics swept through 19th century cities: cholera, yellow fever, typhoid. The dead were buried fast, often without careful checks to stop the spread of disease. Doctors and officials, overwhelmed, made hasty decisions. Comatose patients could be mistaken for corpses and carted away. Death carts roamed the streets, collecting bodies for mass graves. Families, too sick or scared, rarely protested. In the rush, the risk of burying someone alive soared. Stories spread muffled screams from graves, scratch marks inside coffins. Whether true or not, these tales confirmed the public's worst fears. The fight against disease had a hidden casualty certainty about death. For many, the fear of being buried alive was as real as the plague itself. The fear of premature burial exploded in newspapers and popular literature. Sensational stories, often unverified, described exhumed coffins with scratch marks or faint cries from graves. These tales spread panic, blurring the line between rumor and reality. Edgar Allan Poe's The Premature Burial captured this terror perfectly. His story, told from the perspective of a man obsessed with being buried alive, made readers feel the suffocating horror firsthand. Poe's fiction validated public anxiety, making the fear feel plausible and immediate. Literature and media didn't just reflect the fear, they amplified it. The result, a cultural panic, fueled by every lurid headline and gothic tale. The fear became a self-sustaining engine, driving itself deeper into the public mind. Even the powerful weren't immune to this fear. George Washington's last command, "Don't bury me for 3 days after death," he wanted to be sure he was truly gone, a common precaution for the wealthy. Composer Frédéric Chopin went further, begging his sister to have his body cut open after death to ensure he wasn't buried alive. His heart was removed before burial, honoring his desperate wish. Other famous figures, like Hans Christian Andersen and Alfred Nobel, left similar instructions. No amount of fame or intellect could shield anyone from this anxiety. The terror of premature burial haunted everyone, from presidents to poets. Fear sparked invention. Enter the safety coffin. These coffins featured bells, flags, even breathing tubes, designed to let the dead signal for help. A cord in the hand, a bell above the grave, the origin of "saved by the bell" and "dead ringer." Some designs included air pipes, escape hatches, even food tubes. Patented and advertised, safety coffins preyed on public fear and offered peace of mind, at a price. Mostly only the wealthy could afford them. Despite the elaborate designs, these inventions were rarely, if ever, used in real rescues. The safety coffin became a symbol of panic, not practicality. It was a solution to a problem that, in reality, almost never happened. But it showed just how far people would go to avoid their worst nightmare. Despite the panic, verified cases of people being buried alive were almost non-existent. The terror was immense, but the actual risk was tiny. Most stories of rescued dead or scratched coffins were folklore or misinterpretations. Bodies shift during decomposition. Marks on wood were often from coffin makers. Safety coffins never saved a single life. The bells stayed silent. The fear was psychological, not statistical. It was a mass hysteria, fueled by uncertainty and sensationalism. A ghost that haunted a century, but left no real victims. The fear faded not because people stopped worrying, but because science brought certainty. The invention of the ECG let doctors confirm death with a flat line. No more guesswork. Embalming, especially after the Civil War, made mistaken burial impossible. Laws required death certificates and medical exams before burial. The process became orderly, professional, and safe. The unknown was replaced by knowledge, panic by procedure. The story of taphophobia is a lesson. Fear thrives in ignorance. Science, not bells or breathing tubes, finally put the terror to rest. In survival, knowledge is the best defense against the darkness. The best way to survive fear is to bring in the light.